Right, let's look at 2.9. String 4 is assigned the value of S3, so essentially it's got the same value. And wow, there's a very long delete going on over here. Okay, so it's deleting from the string. Let's try and sort everything out just slowly. So that's the position it must start from, which we need to simplify, and that's how many characters must be deleted. Okay, so position to start from, let's start with that first of all. The position of the capital D. Okay, well, the capital D is at position 5 plus 1. So that would make that a 6 there. So the 5 position D was the 5 plus 1 is 6. So that whole thing there just simply evaluates to a 6. Okay, so that's what I'm saying. You can reduce these things just like you can with the mathematical functions and expressions. So don't get put off by the apparent complexity of it to start off with. And this one says the pos of L, which I think we've had before with this particular string even, says, right, that says find L in there. Now, there are a couple of L's. In fact, there are 3 of them, but it will find the position of the first one. So what we're saying is start at position 6. We're now trying to find out how many characters we must copy. Okay, so we've got the starting position. We're now trying to find out how many characters we must copy. So pos of L, so it's the first L. So in fact, it's a 3. So this whole thing, in fact, simplifies to that being 6 and that being 3. So it says delete from the 6th position 3 characters. So it's the 1, the 2, and the 3. Okay, so essentially those would be deleted. Okay, delete entire. Okay, I'm just deleting it in the word table. So okay, and obviously the numbering would then be corrected as well. So I'm just going to take it out for now. But that's what would have been deleted. Would have been the 1, 2, 3 would have been deleted there. Okay, and again, it's a question of that. That evaluated to a 6. That evaluated to a 3. So it said delete from the 6th position 3 characters. So that wasn't nearly as bad as it looked. Wow, this is a more complicated looking one. Let's try and work through it. I count is equal to 0, and then it starts at the 2nd position, interestingly enough. So it starts there. The loop doesn't start at 1. It starts at the 2nd position, which is interesting. Okay, and it goes through the whole string, and it's looking at characters. Something strange going on there, but we'll work out. And if something's true, it will increment the count. So okay, so we've got to work out essentially what we've got to do is work out what is this part actually doing. Okay, well, if we remember now that the loop is now starting at 2, okay, not 1. So it'll become 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, carrying on. And in fact, in this case, with this specific example, go to the length. So in this particular example, it would go all the way to 18. Okay, it would obviously depending on what was stored in string 3 at any given time. But the important thing is it's starting in the 2nd position. So that says string 3 position 2. Okay, so look at that one, which is the E, and look at string 3. R loop still 2. 2 minus 1 is 1. So it's saying take the 2nd one and look at the one before it. Okay, in other words, compare those two, the K and the E, and if they're the same, increment the count. Okay, they're not the same. It's a capital K and a capital E. So that's not, okay. Then the loop becomes, we goes through the loop again, the loop becomes 3. So now we're looking at the 3rd one, the 3rd character. Our loop is 3, and we're looking at 3 minus 1 is 2. So you can see it's starting to look at each character and the one before it. So K and E, no match over there. So it's not going to increment the count. Eventually it's going to become the loop variable, our loop will become 4. So we're looking at the 4th character and comparing it to character 4 minus 1, that's 3. So the 4th character and the 3rd character. Okay, now finally we do have a match. Okay, we do have a match. Okay, because they are equal. Okay, so count would go up by 1. So essentially what it's doing every time it's going through, and that's why it started at 2, because it was looking at comparing the 2nd one with the 1st one, the 3rd one with the 2nd one, the 4th one. In other words, it's going through each character and looking at the previous one. So eventually it'll get to the 18th one, and compare it to the 17th one. And on its way, it will get to the 13th position and compare it with the 12th. Okay, so what it's essentially saying is that in how many places is the previous character the same as the current character. So essentially, it's actually looking for duplicates. And I'm looking through here. I don't see, that's I and a L, so that's not the same. So in fact, that's the only matchup it would actually find. So the answer that it would output would in fact be a 1. Okay, so the question could have also been asked to say, write some code to find not only the duplicates, but the successive duplicates. In other words, and we could have looked at I loop and I loop plus 1. If you want to look at the first and the second, it's just done in a slightly different way. We're still looking at successive ones. In other words, the first and the second, second and the third, third and the fourth, fourth and the fifth, fifth and the sixth, seventh and the eighth, ninth and the 10th, 11th, and you get the idea. Okay, so that's 2.10. So that's a slightly trickier one to look at, but again, even if they don't give you an example, well, they will give you the string at least. Just work at an example and say, what is the pattern? What's occurring here? Because, look, you could end up going through it and say, right, I'll test it with 6 versus 5, 7 versus 6. But after a while, you're going to pick up that this pattern is essentially saying, look at this character in the string and look at the previous one. Okay, if I change that to plus 1, it would look at the character and the one after it. This one's looking at the character and the one before it. It's going to go right through and say, right, each time look at the character before it and see if there's a match. And that's it for the worked examples. Always take your time with them. They are actually relatively easy. In that you're not writing code, you're just interpreting code. But the main thing is, again, if we go look at the previous example, is don't get put off by this. You all know how to do a delete. You all know how to do an insert and a copy and a pause. So all you've got to do is just reduce it to its simplest format. And once you get it to that, it just becomes a numbers game or a letters game, and it's fairly easy to do. And I think it works a lot better having this as a reference in front of you. Well, the next section, we're going to look at writing little short snippets of code with string functions.